Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Shipyards. I'm Commander Exorcist. Welcome to episode 24 of the After Action Report, my weekly show where I go over the news and happenings in the Space Engineers universe. But before we get started, if you enjoy the content that I create on this channel, then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure notifications are turned on so that you don't miss any of my Space Engineers content. Let's see what's going on out there. On Friday, Keen celebrated the 12th anniversary of Space Engineers with a live stream featuring CEO Merrick Rosa, Community Manager Aaron, and SC1 game developer Ryan. The live stream, while shorter and plagued with a few more technical problems than we've come to know from the team, did give some fascinating insight into the history of Space Engineers and the philosophy, or general lack thereof, behind its development. When asked about what inspired him to work on Space Engineers, Merrick stated that he believes that game developers should pursue creations that tap into what they're good at. He said that he views himself as, quote, not very good at creating story-based games, but that he enjoys and has skills for coding more complicated physics-based games. He utilized this passion and skill with a small team to develop Space Engineers. Following a tweet of a video recorded on a cell phone, Merrick and the team were nervous as to the reaction they would get from the gaming community. Would the game be well received, hated by all, or perhaps worse, ignored completely? According to Merrick, shortly after the teaser was released, the team received a flood of comments from many people declaring it to be, quote, the game they've been waiting for. Merrick went on to explain that one of the keys to making Space Engineers successful was to add things that expand capabilities of what's possible. It's nice to have new features in a video game, but Space Engineers developers should ask if those new features enable the community to take advantage of new functions and opportunities to build extraordinary things. For example, many of the physics blocks in the game, such as rotors, pistons, and wheels, were largely afterthoughts added to the game at the suggestion of the development team and community. For a game like Space Engineers to be successful, the development team must always be on the alert for good ideas that can help players exploit the sandbox in new and interesting ways. In my personal opinion, and while acknowledging it's absolutely impossible to please everyone, I think Keen has done a very good job at this, and the game's longevity affirms it. Finally, Merrick dropped a bombshell announcement that Space Engineers 1.208 will arrive on November 24th. Although the expansion doesn't have an official name yet, it is largely a custodian update with quality of life fixes and some new blocks. Apparently, the update has been finished for weeks, and Keen seems to just be running out the shot clock on this one until it's released. The developers emphasize that this will not be as large as previous updates like Apex or Fieldwork, but it will come with new blocks and adjustments to enhance what we already have. And before we move on to the Dev Diary notes this week, the Q&A session during the live stream brought up a very interesting philosophical question about Space Engineers. Although I would say that this can apply to many other games as well. If an engineer is able to use Clang to propel projects in Space Engineers, then is that considered an exploit or engineering? For example, if a player finds a unique way to propel a starship into outer space using a combination of wheels, light panels, and say a can of cosmic coffee, is that exploiting the system, or is it just good engineering? This is an argument that appears in other games in the forms of using assists and special weapon features to defeat difficult adversaries. Accusations of using exploits or cheats are truly disingenuous if the feature is part of the game's mechanics, and Merrick seemed to agree. His response to the question was that if the quote feature can be patched out without affecting the block's original functions, then it's an exploit. But if an engineer develops a process to use blocks in ways that they were not intended, then that, my friends, is just good engineering. In an extensive dev diary this week, Merrick discussed some refinements ongoing in SE2 prior to the launch of VS2 Planets and Survival Foundations. He explained some changes to the user interface in which a pop-up appears in the center of the screen when engineers are mining materials to help them understand the quantity and type of material they're collecting. Personally, I'm not a fan of the interface and hope the information gets moved to a different part of the screen. User interface clutter is a serious problem in modern games, and SE2 would do well to limit the amount of on-screen information to that which is absolutely necessary. This feature follows on the heels of improved progression notifications, and while I value knowing the materials I'm collecting, I hope that SE2 finds a way to unify this information to keep it functional, but improve the aesthetics and immersion. While planets and survival mechanics have been the biggest focus of VS2, the base system for random encounters is also due to arrive with this update. According to Merrick, engineers can expect broad themes, combat scenarios, and dynamic NPC encounters down the road, but the initial implementation of these encounters will mostly be non-dynamic, simple, handcrafted, damaged ships, stations, and points of interest designed to give more flavor and life to the world. Keen's intention is to eventually implement randomly generated encounters, but we'll probably see something like that closer to when VS3 arrives. Among the new technologies being worked for SE2 is motion capture. Keen wants to use emotes and character interactions to tell more dynamic stories with the game. To accomplish this, the art team lead has been experimenting with full motion capture for animations and cutscenes. Due to the advancements in camera, sensor, and AI supplementing technology, he is able to achieve full motion capture without the need for green screen or complicated body-worn sensor stacks. In 2 demo videos, we see him enter and exit the SE2 cryopod using a stepladder to simulate fully entering and exiting the chamber. While these animations are not likely to end up in SE2 anytime soon, they do underscore the incredible technological advancements with motion capture and provide Keen with an expedited way for creating unique emotes for cutscenes or interaction with unique blocks like the bed, cryopod, or others. Finally, we got a brand new look at water thrusters being tested for VS3. In the short YouTube video, we see a test craft go from dry land into water and back again. After a brief flip, the ship rights itself and resumes its watery trek. Each preview of water work in SE2 is better than its predecessor. This preview steps things up with our first real ground-to-water transition. Many questions still remain, such as what type of hydrodynamic features can we expect, and will we see atmospheric features like wind for sails in future updates. VS3 is a distant update, but if it works as advertised, it will certainly be one of the most groundbreaking features we've ever seen. So what do you think about procedurally generated random encounters in SE2? Do you like a UI filled with pop-ups, tooltips, bleeps, and beeps? And are you excited for Space Engineers 1.208 releasing on November 24th? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll be back next week with more Space Engineers. Until then, I'm Commander Exorcist. Take care, fly safe, and I'll see you out there.